Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. In this episode we are finally... Someone just walked past. Anyway, finally gonna turn it on, start to turn it on. All right, ETA like 2 hours until Joshy boy arrives to fire this thing up, and there's a bit to do still. Don't you think it's just weird sometimes people watch you? No matter how long you do the camera stuff, talking to nobody is the strangest thing, and then someone walks past and you're like, this is awkward. Obviously we've done all the fuel priming stuff. I've actually put some diesel in the tank, which is a super strange feeling, putting diesel in this car. It's been like years and years since it has diesel in it, but there we go. Going to just run up the lift pump so I can run the fuel line out, make sure it's all cleared and clean. I've got to get this cooler in. That's the biggest thing. Get this cooler put in so we can plumb up these transmission lines so we can actually put oil in the transmission so we can fire it up. So I'll get that mounted. What else? Exhaust is all sorted. Got to get this fan on. Got to sort the wiring out. Got to make another bracket for this. Oh, by the way, if you're noticing the old hoist post here, stickers all over it. If you got a sticker you want to whack on here, we're running out of room very quickly, but I'll put my PO box down here. If you want to send something through, I'll whack it on here. And yeah, there's a little bit of space left on it. Alrighty, so the transcooler is mounted. I still need to make some sort of shield underneath. I've slightly tilted it back so any stone throws from the wheels should miss it, but more or less the things coming up, off-roading, whatever, stuff hitting that cooler, dramas. So I'm gonna put some sort of shield in front of it, some sort of mesh just to protect that, but she's all mounted. Next thing, real exciting moment, where is it? Hold on. Oil time. So time to fill up the engine with some oil. I'm actually using Norland's new range of their fully synthetic diesel oils. So they've finally got the big containers now, 7 litre. So we'll throw some oil in there because Josh isn't far away. And then after that, I'm gonna give the transmission a quick service and take the pan off and change the filter out before we fill up the gearbox with oil. But let's get some of this in there so she's ready to go. And I'm also gonna throw a little bit in that turbo. So obviously the Garrett turbos have the little bearing inside there for the shaft to go through. So I might dip just a bit in the oil so when it first runs up, it's got a feed there and it's not completely dry. Dip a bit in there, make sure the engine's got some, and then we should be ready to fire. The tricky thing with this sort of stuff is they're not an Australian car, obviously. So getting the right fluids is sometimes a tricky thing. So I ended up chatting to the sales guys at Norland to work out what their best transmission fluid is, especially with an auto. Sometimes it's going to be a very specific viscosity and thickness and friction and all this and that for all the clutches and solenoids to work. So double check with them, and basically their fully synthetic automatic transmission oil is bang on to using these Allisons. So got a container of that. Also, obviously, they do them in the easy squeeze, which is super handy. The other problem I've got though is I've got my dipstick tube, but I don't have an actual dipstick. So just to run this thing up, we're gonna do a bit of a Google and work out how many liters they take roughly, throw that in there, and then once the dipstick arrives, the actual insert, to measure the level, then we can sort that out. But for now, it's just a bit of a run in. So we'll see how we go. And hopefully Josh will be here first thing in the morning to run this thing up and see if we can make some soot come out the back or something. Soot, fire, flame, whatever. Something will happen. It's time to prime the fuel system. So I said I was gonna do this earlier, just run some diesel through so the lift pump actually works and brings fuel up to this line, and then the final thing is to do is to hook it up to the motor. So that fast lift pump has a filter and water separator as well, so there's a bit of capacity there for it to fill up. Already thrown in 60 litres or so of diesel in the tank, which is pretty crazy because I don't remember the last time I put diesel in this car, but there you go, she's done. And we'll see what comes out. So let's give it a crack. Well, I can hear it. It's gonna come out at a huge whopping 6 PSI. Look at that. Beautiful. That's really good. That's plenty of flow. That's good for 600 horsepower right there. It's the first thing that worked successfully on this so far that we hooked power up to. Life. It's alive, we got fuel.
The next day.
Righty, so Josh has just arrived. Now, this morning I finished off just throwing a little bit of oil down that turbo. So I lubed it up, just did a bit of bush mechanic wiring so we can hook up the ECU and all that, make sure it's got power. So I just plugged in the scan gauge so we can actually read if it throws any codes. That's the idea today, is just make sure it runs, got oil pressure, doesn't throw any major codes, and then we can go through, get the cab on and get it all sorted. So I don't know, we'll just run the camera, hopefully make some sort of noise. I did a short crank this morning, the starter motor works, it's not seized up, so we're off to a good start, and we'll go from there.
She's in park.
There you go.
Got oil in her. We'll just obviously, as soon as we crank her up, we'll just watch that oil pressure.
Everything. Now what, we just start it.
Yeah, we'll just crank it up, I reckon.
Lift pump.
Yeah, we're not building any rail pressure at the moment.
Right.
Right, so I'm just wondering if it was deleted, this one, because it won't.
Turn the pump on.
It won't build rail pressure.
Okay, if it blocks the pump with the VATs on.
Yeah, you can actually, what you can do is disconnect your fuel pressure regulator, just that 3-pin one up there, and if it builds rail pressure, it's the computer stopping it from building rail pressure. Nothing yet.
You know what I mean?
Nothing yet. Rightio, if it fires up, what do you want to detect first? Do you want to see if we get oil pressure first, or do you want to?
Yeah, just all the things. We can run it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't run that hot.
Yeah.
Basically, we reflash ECU, so the VATs was technically on there, which is your vehicle anti-theft, and that shuts off your pump, so it wasn't getting any fuel. But we still don't know whether we got fuel pressure, so we'll see. Is there anything there now? You have to crank it.
Yeah. So basically the fuel rail pressure, we've got, we'll crank it up, make sure we're building rail pressure.
Yeah.
Desired fuel rail pressure is about 46 MPa.
So we weren't getting that before, or we were?
Yeah, we weren't getting any reading before, so we'll see how we go this time, and then we'll crank it over and
might actually run then.
Might run, we'll see, yeah, if we got some fuel pressure going on.
All right.
Oh yeah, that's the fuel through.
So it's building there?
No, we won't get anything worthwhile.
So this happened. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, all bad. All bad. So what happened was...
It broke. The pump didn't work anymore. Babe, you needed to prepare me. You need to give me script.
Yep, so the diesel pump was definitely buggered. So we had our suspicions, but really didn't want to believe it because you literally have to pull the engine apart to get it out. But here's the pump. There's a big knot in it. It's really, really tight to turn. If you put your thumb on it and give it a good spin, there's no real suction. So it should have some sort of suction. That might be one of the reasons why this motor was pulled out of the car and then obviously sent to the wreckers and got purchased by me. Joshy does have a new pump. So hopefully we'll whack it in tomorrow, reverse everything we did, and it should just fire straight up. So, but at least we found the problem. You look excited, you shouldn't be.
I'm so
Because we were meant to
excited.
go away in like 10 days.
We were meant to go away 4 days ago.
4 days ago. Look at this shop. Look at this place, it's filthy. All right, believe it or not, it is still the same day. Big shout out to Josh from Sunshine Coast Patrols because he drove a 2-hour round trip to go get a new pump and whack it in the car. I've actually got it all back together. The front accessory drives are still off, but we've got the old pump out, which is toast. Trying to work out what's wrong with that, but it's dropped a piston in there somewhere. So now the new pump's in, every little turbo and that's back on. We should try and fire it up and hopefully we've got fuel pressure this time. Still got to put all the accessories back on the front, that's the only difference, but none of that was running anyway. So there's no coolant obviously, but it's fine to run it for a few seconds or whatever. Just make sure it's all good, throws no codes. And yeah, fingers crossed. So good effort for a day's work, right? There was a lot of crap there we had to pull off, but hopefully we haven't forgotten anything.
No, we got it all right, mate. Don't worry, should be.
Kick her in the guts.
Yeah, kick her in the guts and see what happens, I reckon. Let's give it a go. See what happens.
See what happens. I'll check that pressure.
Yeah, let's see what we got going on here. Righty.
Right.
Oh yeah, we started to get some. Cool. Do you want to let the starter cool down a bit, or should be all right?
We'll try again.
Yeah, we're building it.
Not much left in this battery.
Yeah.
I'll change the camera angles, that'll make it work now.
Yeah. Just a bit shy, camera shy.
Must be.
Okay. Here she goes. 3.2, 4.2, needs a bit, 5 more. Come on. A little bit more. Yeah, it was so close to firing. Another 5 MPa and we would have been in the business.
That injector might have f***ed it. Hold on, this header is completely
Soaked.
disconnected.
Right, send it. 1, 2, 3, 5,
6.5 hours later.
We found a loose injector connection.
we just need some rail pressure.
Come on! Mitch is here, he's a good luck charm.
Yeah, we're starting to build. 1 with 2.5, yep, you gotta run. Taking out the injector. Oh, turn her off.
Injector's loose.
Wow!
Is that why it's running on 6 cylinders?
Yeah, you can hear it, you can hear it leaking out that. Oh, that hold down clamp's loose.
What hold down?
The injector hold it, lucky we didn't send it to the boat. Well, she runs.
That sounded really bad.
It didn't sound the greatest. So,
And what else? What other injectors are full? I have to go a full plus 70 kit now.
yeah.
That's a shame.
Tomorrow.
Alrighty, so after Josh left yesterday, we had some pretty catastrophic discoveries. No good, so I've had a day to sort of think about this, what we're gonna do. All the rails are off, so the first problem, we had some major diesel leaks. It was just pissing diesel out of the common rail. One of these fittings was cracked, so I've gone through it and welded. You can see there, well, there's one that's not welded. Oh, focus, there. And there's one that's welded. So from factory, they're only welded on the sides, not down the rail here. So welded them up to stop that leak. But then we thought, geez, while all the fuel lines are off, we'll check the injectors. Actually, we've got 2 diesel mechanics here. I'm in good hands. So they're pulling out the injectors. 2 of them didn't even have O-rings on them. So that wasn't a good sign. So I've decided to take them all out and get them flow tested. So a couple of them are stuck. We might need a slide hammer. These ones are questionable just because they were obviously pulled out previously. So we'll see how we go. Get back to you in a couple of days, get these things flow tested, put all that together and see if it runs better, because yeah, she was squirting diesel everywhere and running like a bag of dicks. So it sounded like it had a bloody rod knock. But we're not going to talk about that, touch wood. All right, so I've run the injectors down to Just Autos here. Obviously these guys are my go-to for anything diesel. They do have a common rail tester for checking the patterns and everything. So Chris has had the thing in a, there's a supersonic bath or whatever. Ultrasonic bath. So that just cleans up all the tips. So make sure all the crap gets off there, any build up before you go and check your spray. The biggest thing, I mean, these obviously DURAMAXs aren't common in Australia. Like a lot of them are imported, so it's not a real common thing here. So trying to find the right specs, and that's a bit of tricky work, trying to get the right details of what they need to be at. But I guess the biggest thing is making sure they're all the same. If there's an outlier and one's not injecting properly, then we know there's a problem. So just a bit of a safeguard here, see what we come up with, see how they look. And yeah, I've never seen this happen before. I've actually never seen an injector. It's just spray. What are you looking for when you, an even spray or?
Technically what we want to look for is just flow rates across the board, like you said. We just want to make sure they're even across all of these 8 injectors. But big thing as well, just checking return rates.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Return rate, make sure we don't have a high leak back on one injector.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Make sure they're good.
I mean, obviously the problem with that motor was the pump, so my guess is the guy that had an issue, thought it was injectors, started pulling them out and they realised the pump had failed, so we've changed that. So fingers crossed the injectors are fine because the pump was the problem. But yeah, just while it's all apart, I thought I might as well get him checked. And I think Heath does have a couple of standard ones spare if there are any that aren't working properly, so I think we should be all right. But the plan is to get these back in the next day or two, run it again and see if it runs a bit better, because it didn't sound good, that's for sure. All right, I ran off to get some more seals and that, so I missed the rest of them, but we're basically just looking at flow rate. And you were saying 3 of them
don't fire.
Is that not firing at all? Or
not firing at all.
So could it be an electrical thing?
Don't know. Don't know if it's solenoid foil.
So it's all happening now, the tip's coming off. 3 of them didn't have seals on them. So maybe this motor became a parts motor and someone's ripped the pump out, ripped good injectors out, put ones in, I don't know. So it's all a mystery at the moment, but so Chris is trying the old pull it apart, put it back together trick, see what happens. Might wake them up. They've been sitting a while, I'm not gonna lie, so. Nothing. Got to get some sort of return. So she's cooked. How can all 3 be cooked? Alrighty, so I'll give you a bit of an update because a few things have happened. Obviously those injectors yesterday failed the bloody test. So I'm on the hunt for some new ones. I'm gonna be on the phone a bunch to some mobs in the US and try and find a set. So I've decided to push on. Well, obviously you can't sit around waiting for parts. I also found a shifter. So the TB48 shifters are the only ones that have the tap shift. I'll get into that, it's a different story, but I managed to find one in WA, so that's coming from other side of Australia too, so I don't want to wait around for that. There's too many parts that are coming from different places, so I'm going to crack on with it. Put the body on now. Once the body's on, do up all the body mounts, and then I can really hook in and start doing all the accessories, like power steering lines are ready to go, get them hooked up, get the brakes back on, the steering column back on, get the wiring harness through the firewall so I can start playing with wiring and stuff like that. So yeah, once this cab's on, we can really start making some progress. So that's the plan now, hook into it and see how much stuff we can get done. And then when these parts arrive, they can just get thrown in and hopefully it'll work. So a bit of a change of plans, but at least we're still moving forward in the right direction. So let's hook into that and really start making some ground. Okay, you want to see my DIY thing?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Cody's never in the shop and she's so fascinated by this. Okay, so someone bloody lost this bit, probably me, because it was sitting here and we're like, you know, so this is what happens. Oh no, where did it go? Imagine if it was just right here. Anyway, this bit has disappeared. It's to stop, well, not corrosion, that's not the word, vibrations and that wearing the rubber away between the body and the mount. Goes in there, so I made one with a bit of, I wanted steel so I could weld it, but turns out I've just got Ali, press fit. I plasma cut it, actually, brand new toy. I bought a plasma cutter and it came to literally like an hour ago, we unboxed it and I'm like, oh, I can actually use it now. So plasma cut that out, took 2 seconds. Yeah, there's me writing in Sam, my name. And then, yeah, so now there's a bit of metal in there. I'll give it a lick of paint and it helps guide the bolt through and stops the rubbing. There you go, you happy that I explained it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I want hands by the case, Lord. Get the millions and lay low. Take my what I'm gonna wait for. Put my bros on the payroll. Out of sight, out of mind, on my way. Out of sight, out of mind, on my way. Out of sight, out of mind, on my way. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yep, it is. A very important delivery has just been delivered. The radiator has arrived. The legends at AdRad have actually changed the original radiator that was in here. They've customized it to suit the DURAMAX. And that was actually the part I was waiting on. It's piss and rain, poor mailman. But let's get this thing unboxed and have a look. So here was the plan, and this is what we've ended up with. Oh, by the way, don't worry, I didn't actually drop the box. It was already unboxed, and I've got the thing out here. I wouldn't be that stupid. So, oh man, I wish I knew the specs. I'm not a radiator expert. They've changed the core from a triple bypass to a single, I think, so you can have the flow rate, because the DURAMAXs have 2 thermostats. There's massive flow, so to get the right circulation, they had to change the cores. I'm not sure what else. Like the top tank's the same, but they've changed the core, and then obviously the bottom outlet's been upsized, because this needs to match what's on the DURAMAX. Like this thing's huge. It's like 2.5 inches or something. And then that's the standard patrol inlet. So first things first, I think we might have some clearance issues, to be honest, with that outlet. We might have to trim it down a bit, but let's drop it in and see how it looks. They've bloody done it. That is bang on. A Raceworks 90 fitting, I just need 2 with a 63 mil on each side. This one's a bit of a reducer. Order the new fitting, or the new hose, and that'll bang straight on. So the problems start with the top side. So let me put on what we've got for the top side, which is all this contraption that we tigged up, me and Nathan, the other day. I'll get this bolted on. You can sort of see what's got to happen. I have to do a couple of cuts and put some hoses on. So this needs to go basically as close as it can to the battery. A trim here and a trim there for the right angle. I might start off by just putting this forward as much as possible to give us enough clearance for that charge pipe to come through. So I might trim about 80 to 100 mil off that, and then we'll work out where this bend goes. So literally what else arrived in the mail today was me brand new welder. So I've been using obviously the Unimig Razor 205 for ages now. There's a reason I got a new welder. I've got one that's going to be a MIG and one a dedicated TIG. Now getting to more TIG stuff, where we're going to weld up this coolant pipe here. There's a few benefits for the new 200 AC/DC. So the Razor 105 was meant for like an all-round welder. It can do MIG, it can do TIG, but there's a limitation there, it's DC only. So the new 200 AC/DC has AC and DC, which means you can do aluminium TIG welding, which you can't do with this other machine. So that's one of the positives. Another cool thing, I mean, there's a ton of different features. It's a lot more programmable, but another thing that I really liked about it was the high frequency starting. So with the 205, you basically need to do almost like a scratch start, or even touch the tungsten to the piece of metal to create the arc, whereas the AC/DC has a high frequency start, so you don't need to touch your electrode to the piece of metal. And if you've done any TIG welding before, as soon as you touch that electrode, it just makes a mess of the tip, so that makes it so much easier to TIG weld as well. It's also got the pulse function, so you can start stacking dimes if you want, if you get that good. So yeah, finally got the new welder, which is awesome, so I can start doing some alley stuff, and then it just makes this TIG so much easier. So yeah, I've given it a quick setup. Haven't really worked out with the settings, but we'll see if she does a good weld. What do you reckon the new DURAMAX?
That'd be sick.
How good would that be?
Yeah.
I've got a distraction over there, I'll tell you. So these are all the drift boys, basically. Yeah. Hello guys, and welcome to Built Not Bought HQ. Make sure to click on the far left to subscribe to the channel. Click down below to see the latest episode if you missed it, and don't forget our merchandise on our website. See you in the next episode.